Well, the directed reading thinking activity, or DRTA, is a way of teaching readers to become more engaged with what they're reading and improve comprehension. Instead of simply telling students to read a section and answer the publisher-created questions at the end, this is a precision-guided approach to building the skills of a mature reader. Well, we want to create a purposeful reading experience. The first step is for the teacher to select a text that's appropriate in terms of challenge. Ideally, we want to keep our students in that zone of proximal development, meaning not over-challenged, as in frustrated, or not under-challenged, as in bored. Once we've picked the correct text, we want to then go through it and choose specific stopping points, where we will ask students questions which will lead them to make predictions about what they have read, and also to relate to what they have read in terms of their own personal experiences. Ideally, this process will continue until students are able to read and automatically begin to make predictions, relate it to their experience, and have a kind of a dynamic reading experience. This is actually a great learning activity for any student. Although it's obviously going to be very helpful for students who have a specific learning disability, those who struggle with reading, and it's also great for English language learners, this can be applied to any student in any grade level and really any content area. You simply keep that student in their zone of proximal development by making sure you select the text appropriate for them. So this can be used anywhere from Dr. Seuss to Shakespeare.
Alright, so today we're going to be reading and we're going to be doing an activity called a directed reading thinking activity. But first, to get started, it's going to be a kind of a spooky story since we're nearing Halloween. So I want everyone to think, have you ever been any place kind of spooky, or maybe have you visited a haunted house or a haunted hayride? Has anyone been to Reaper's Revenge? Alright, very good. So, has anybody seen the movie trailer for the new Goosebumps movie? Yeah, okay, a couple of you have. Alright, well, we're actually all going to take a quick look at that, because the book that we're reading today is actually one from the Goosebumps series. So let's take a look at that movie trailer right now.
Hannah's in trouble. She's locked in this house, and her dad's a psychopath.
Does she have a friend? Abominable Snowman of Pasadena? These are all Goosebumps manuscripts.
Why are these books so locked?
Did you unlock a book?
Oh no, sorry. I'll put it back where it belongs. Look, here it is.
No, don't open it!
Goosebumps.
Okay, so the first thing I'd like you to do when we start reading is always we're going to take a look at the cover. We're going to read the title. So the title is called Welcome to Dead House. And let's take a close look at the cover. And based on the title and the cover, can you make any predictions? Alright, who has a prediction? Yes. Okay, so my first prediction was that maybe it takes place during Halloween, and there are some kids that go on a haunted house, visit a haunted house, or to a haunted hayride. Very good. That's a very good prediction. Anybody else? Yes. Okay, great. Yeah, my next prediction was that maybe these kids are just wandering around their neighborhood and find an old house that they decide they want to explore, and they're going to go inside and take a look. So maybe it's about that. Anybody else? Yes. Okay, another very good prediction. Maybe there are some people who move, and they move into a new house that turns out to be haunted. Okay, let's begin. Let's all turn to page 1. I'm going to start by doing something called a think aloud. So I'm going to be reading this text, and then I'm going to kind of pause and share my thoughts with you, so you can get an idea how I begin to relate this to my own life, how I begin to make predictions, and so you just follow along with me, and then pay attention to the kind of thoughts I have as I'm reading this. Alright. Josh and I hated our new house. Sure, it was big. It looked like a mansion compared to our old house. It was a tall, red brick house with a sloping black roof and rows of windows framed by black shutters. So it sounds like maybe the prediction about the title, we might already have the answer. Josh and I hated our new house. So it sounds like you were right, that they did move into a house. And let's see what it's about. It's so dark, I thought, studying it from the street. The whole house was covered in darkness, as if it were hiding in the shadows of the gnarled old trees that bent over it. I know when I was young, I didn't really like the dark a whole lot, so I can see why they might think that's scary. It was the middle of July, but dead brown leaves blanketed the front yard. Our sneakers crunched all over them as we trudged up the gravel driveway. Tall weeds poked up everywhere through the dead leaves. Thick clumps of weeds had completely overgrown an old flower bed beside the front porch. So I wonder why there are all those leaves in the front yard in July, and why the flower beds are overgrown. You know what? Maybe that nobody's been living there for a while. So I'll predict that the yard is the way it is because the house has been empty for a long time.
All right, now it's your turn. You're going to read aloud, and I'll stop you every once in a while and have you make some predictions, see if you can relate the story to your own life, and also see if you can come up with some questions that you'd like to answer as you continue to read. All right, let's get started. Unfortunately, this type of text is not very universal. I cannot manipulate the text, I cannot enlarge it, I can't change it in really any way. This is what it is. However, with the use of an optical reader application, I can capture the text. It will convert it from an image into digital text, which can be manipulated. So this can be copied and pasted into a Word document, and then I can do pretty much anything with it. So through this application, I can take a very unflexible book and create a digital text, which I can do pretty much anything with, including a text-to-speech function that is built in.
Josh and I hated our new house. Sure, it was big. It looked like a mansion compared to our old house. It was a tall red brick house with a sloping black roof.
So the computer voice is not ideal, but at least through this technology, we can take texts which previously you couldn't do much with in terms of making them universal for all of our students, and now really the sky's the limit. All right, so now it's time for you to do a little bit of work on your own. For this independent practice, you'll just continue reading where we left off, but now you'll read it silently. When you get to the stopping point, you'll stop, and then you'll be asked to make a prediction, to come up with a question of your own, or to relate this to yourself in a certain way. All right, let's go ahead. All right, so now I'd like you to summarize what you've read. Maybe you'd like to write it out in a paragraph, but you don't have to. I'm not assessing your writing, I'm assessing your reading comprehension. So perhaps you'd like to create a comic strip to explain what happened, or maybe you'd like to create an audio recording, podcast, or maybe a video. You choose. Really, the point is that you just need to summarize that in whatever way you are most comfortable.